Welcome to The Other Side, Mississippi Today's political podcast. I'm your host, Adam Ganucheau. The Other Side lets you hear directly from the most connected players and observers across the spectrum of politics in Mississippi. From breaking news to political strategy to interviews with candidates and elected officials, we'll bring you facts, perspectives, and context that helps you cut through the noise and understand all sides of the story. I'm your host, Adam Ganucheau. Joining me today in the studio are my colleagues Geoff Pender. Hey, Geoff.
Hey, Adam.
And Bobby Harrison. Bobby, how you doing?
Hey, Adam. How you doing?
We're making it. Happy holidays to y'all. Happy holidays to everybody listening. It's always a good time of the year to spend with family and friends, and I get to spend it with two of my friends here, so I'm happy.
And hopefully all our thousands of listeners will spend it with us too.
That's right. Yes, our hordes of deeply obsessed fans. That's right. So we really, y'all, I should say, it's the two of you have been covering what I would consider one of the crazier political stories that I can recall in my time covering politics here. I guess there's a way to sum it up. We're going to get into it, but we got a sitting Republican attorney general accusing a state auditor of overstepping his legal authority in spending $2 million on a consultant study that looked at government spending overall. You've got a top Senate chairman, Republican Senate chairman, who is on the record saying he's concerned that state auditor with that study broke state law. You've got a lieutenant governor, Republican lieutenant governor, who is demanding or suggesting that the state auditor pay that $2 million back to the state. And then you've got the state auditor accused of all of this, saying that he actually didn't do anything wrong, and this is all a result of his $2 million study, finding, among other things, that the attorney general and lieutenant governor took the state plane to an out-of-state baseball game. It's crazy. There are so many layers to this story that y'all have been covering the past few days that we could probably spend a couple hours digging into each one of those. But as I said, State Attorney General Lynn Fitch has opined officially in an opinion from her office that State Auditor Shad White, his $2 million study looking into state government spending was not something that he had the legal authorization to do. If y'all haven't read that story, it probably would be good if you went and read it. Pause the episode real quick. It won't take you long, but you'll get a really good sense of it. But for the sake of today's conversation, Geoff, I'm going to turn to you first. Where do you start even?
Yeah.
What are your takeaways here?
Well, this started, I guess, back in October. Auditor Shad White, as state auditor, obviously he looks at state spending. That's his job. He's supposed to check the books and do fiscal audits. But what he did with this was different. Unbeknownst, apparently, to the legislature who sets his budget, he had $2 million freed up, and he hired a consultant and told the consultant to come up with at least $250 million in wasteful government spending and inefficiency. Now, again, him checking the book and running audits, that's what he's supposed to do, and misspending. He's not supposed to, it's more the job of the governor and legislature to look at government policy and efficiency and how agencies should be run and what the rules on purchasing are. That's kind of their job. But anyway, he did this study, and right off the bat, a lot of lawmakers, a lot of other politicians felt like this was probably more a political stunt on his part. No secret, he's interested in running for governor, and they felt like this big study and this big government efficiency, Project Momentum, he calls it, was kind of, in their eyes, an expensive political stunt. And one thing they noted is that, questioned, is that all that aside, he spent $2 million on it, and the report he released back in October was what a lot of people said, and I think so looking at it too, looked like a rehash of every money-saving idea that's come up in the legislature for the last 2 decades or so.
State Senator John Polk, who is the vice chairman of the Appropriations Committee that oversees the state auditor's budget, told you that on the record. I mean, said straight up, this is a lot of what he found is stuff we've been talking about. Same old, as he called it.
Government travel. I myself have written a bit about that.
Just a little bit. Don't be humble about that, Jeff. You have
consolidating back office operations.
Yep.
Well, that's been pitched many times. Oddly enough, some of the purchasing stuff Auditor White mentioned, John Polk has championed reform in purchasing for many years. Actually got some of it accomplished, but some of it's been undone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people looked at this and like, what did we get for $2 million besides a big press conference and a media tour by the auditor?
Yeah. I want to set the scene really quick, though. I mean, who these people, the principals involved here. State Auditor Shad White, he's seen as this up-and-coming politician in Republican Party in Mississippi. He's the youngest statewide elected official. He has, he's a Rhodes Scholar. He's got this great educational background all over the country and world, who has really used that office to sort of boost his brand. I mean, I think we have a long history of state auditors in Mississippi who have done that, try to use that office as a stepping stone to what's next. He has publicly talked about his ambitions of running for higher office. We have reported that includes the governor's office. You've got kind of this young up-and-comer in politics versus, if you want to view it as one versus another, Attorney General Lynn Fitch, who has been around for longer. She's, much older than Shad White. She has been on statewide ballots for longer than Shad White. She's run some real campaigns. She's now in her second term as Attorney General after serving couple terms as state treasurer. So she's a known entity. She's got high name ID across the state, high favorability across the state, and they have been sparring because she, as we have reported, has also talked about publicly running for governor in 2027. They are engaged in litigation against each other. It's about as nasty of a public sort of battle between two fellow party mates as any that we've seen in at least modern Mississippi political history. Delbert Hosemann then is now another principal player in this sort of saga now. He's, as lieutenant governor, presides over the Senate. He has a huge hand, of course, in controlling the state budget. That, of course, includes the state auditor's office and the attorney general's office. And Senator John Polk, who I just mentioned, went on the record with you this week, Jeff. He was the one who actually requested this attorney general's opinion from Lynn Fitch, and he is kind of a right-hand, top lieutenant of Delbert Hosemann. So Delbert Hosemann, also another person who has publicly talked about running for governor in 2027. So the politics of this are layered, even that to the degree that you can't ignore that. Bobby, you've been covering politics a long time. What do you make of all this?
Well, there have been some. I remember back in the day that then Lieutenant Governor and later Governor Musgrove and Attorney General Mike Moore. Mike Moore was viewed as a threat to run against Ronnie Musgrove for his second term as governor. He ultimately didn't do that, but they kind of had similar sparring sessions. But what intrigues me about the current situation is, okay, you pretty much have Delbert Hosemann and Lynn Fitch both saying that what Shad White did was not legal. It was not part of his legal authority. So I guess my question going into the upcoming session is, will there be consequences, and what will those consequences be if that? Will there be legislation passed in some way, to prevent? In the past sessions, Shad White used what is known as special funds to pay for that study. The special funds come from the fees he charges to cities and counties and other agencies to perform their audits, he gets fees for that. And for other agencies, a lot of their special funds have been taken away in past session. I mean, is that going to happen to the auditor's office? I was kind of surprised that hadn't already happened to the auditor's office.
I say perhaps. Well, one thing that's gone on with the auditor's office, and I think it predates White, is that I think his predecessor, Stacy Pickering, at one point had complained that he had too few auditors, couldn't retain them, couldn't keep them, couldn't hire them. And I think the auditor's office was given some escalation authority on its special funds, with the thought being that you can hire more auditors or hire outside help to help do audits. I don't think they envisioned when they were coming up with that you would spend $2 million on a consultant for a study of dubious worth.
And that's my point. Would there be attempts to try to curtail some of his authority?
For his part, made it sound like he's not going to go after the state auditor's budget and try to, I think the way he kept putting it was, we need some guardrails to prevent this from happening in the future. I don't think like actual cuts to the budget, but there may be some stricter rules put on special funds. Maybe for more offices than just the auditors.
It's fascinating. I mean, Shad White is a boisterous guy.
He's on social media probably more than any statewide elected official by far.
I think he's the youngest statewide elected official. I think he's the only millennial. So, it's a generational thing. He, like many people his age, use social media as a real political tool. And I mean, this past week, as all of this has been breaking, he has been just going in. It's hard to explain his behavior on social media, but targeting the officials. I mean, he hasn't really gone too hard yet directly at Lynn Fitch on this one, but he's blaming it totally on Delbert Hosemann.
We should mention more. Okay, when he released his report in October, he said just in general the state could save money by getting rid of the state plane, making politicians take charge. That has come up over and over again. Phil Bryant sold one of the state planes. And
how many times have you done a story on a state plane, Geoff, in your career?
I don't. Over 30 years, many times. Bobby, too. But that's been a big issue. What he did not, it was not until his spending was questioned that he announces to the public that I guess he found an improper flight that the lieutenant governor and Lynn Fitch and the insurance commissioner took to the College World Series when State played in it.
Yeah.
Well,
but again, back to what his job is. If politicians took an improper state flight, that is something the state auditor can and probably should. If you work as a clerk in a county water department,
and
$1,500 goes missing, the state auditor will demand that money back. Well, if money was improperly spent here, be it on a plane flight or whatever, well, okay, where's the demand and why is that just now coming up?
What begs the question, why are you waiting until you got criticized by these politicians to point out that they were on that plane?
Yeah, and look, guys, I mean, we can all sit and nitpick flights that
sure.
I mean, there was an instance in that where an auditor did demand some money back for a flight that where the governor took the plane to Destin or somewhere for a vacation. But and these politicians are not the first to use the state plane to fly to sporting events, and I think it was a Mississippi State World Series game, and they would claim that they were there as representatives of Mississippi.
Lynn Fitch did claim that on the record in response to the charges.
You may not agree with that, but that's I mean that's
I agree with the premise that perhaps we could just get rid of the state plane.
But my point is that's a long-standing action.
Of course,
that's many state officials have done that.
We could have recorded this exact part of the podcast episode 30 years ago for a different
Right,
set of
yeah.
state officials.
I don't think we needed to spend $2 million to have someone say we waste
that's
money
right.
on a state plane. That's sure.
And there is an argument for a state plane. I mean, especially to it's hard to, I guess you could charter, but you can't get a commercial flight if you need to get from Jackson to Iuka. I mean, there's no commercial flights, and sometimes a state official does, because of time restraints, needs to get there fairly quickly, and a state plane comes in handy for those particular instances.
Yeah.
But I do understand the premise of saying you don't need a state plane. I think there's arguments to be made on both sides of that, though.
So the short-term sort of thing that we will have to keep an eye on is, of course, the legislative session starts January 7th, and that is obviously the process by which all state agencies are funded, including the state auditor's office. Geoff, you mentioned John Polk didn't seem keen on talking about the auditor's budget, but I mean, go if you're listening to this and you haven't looked, I hate to tell you to go to Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days, because it's a pretty terrible place generally, but go scroll the state auditor's Twitter timeline and just look at how he is addressing Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann directly and Attorney General Lynn Fitch directly. I mean, I'd say it would be rare, if not totally impossible, for a sitting lieutenant governor to have that from some, young up-and-coming state auditor down the ladder, from where he is, and not want to sort of get some version of payback. I mean, it's shocking for me to see how Shad White is addressing these people, and I got to think that Delbert Hosemann is not going to take very kindly to that as he's considering how to spend the state's money over the next few months. But
well, it appears, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here, but it appears to me sometimes Shad White is probably maybe one of the best educated officials in the state, statewide elected officials.
Rhodes Scholar, man.
Rhodes Scholar. Yeah, on social media, he instead of sometimes arguing the facts or arguing the policy, I mean, he uses, words like idiot to describe when he's upset with someone, which, I get, Auditor White and
they teach that as a debate method at Harvard, I believe.
Well, I was going to say he probably, we both claim Jones County as our home, where we were raised, and maybe that Jones County.
I'll try not to judge Jones County. I know many fine people from Jones County.
Present company not included.
I'm kidding.
I don't know. The number of texts and calls that I've personally gotten over the past few days about how Shad White has conducted himself publicly right now. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But that's his prerogative, and this is certainly not the first big high profile fight among party leaders in Mississippi political history, but this is a weird one, and
he has opened the battle on many fronts.
Yes, he has.
He's gone to political war with our new Republican Party chairman. You would think if you were going to run for higher office soon, you would not go out of your way maybe to anger or call the chairman of your party names. He's obviously gone after Delbert. Obviously gone after Fitch,
and went after a lot of people in his book.
The book. Yeah. The book is why the Mike Hurst, the current chair of the party, went after him. It is a situation in which we can talk about the short term effects of all this, which y'all will be covering. We will be covering very closely during the upcoming legislative session. But the longer term effects, I mean, this is all seemingly about 2027 and this lining up of who's running for what office, which in modern history there hasn't been kind of a big turnover in terms of term limits at the governor and lieutenant governor level, and so many younger, eager, ambitious politicians kind of seemingly on that bench waiting to kind of move up the ladder. And that this is, I think, a direct effect of that. If y'all may disagree with that, but I don't see this all of this as anything other than just sheer politicking, looking ahead to 2027.
Positioning themselves. Yeah. And can I take what they call in legislature a point of personal privilege?
I don't know, Bobby.
To go back to Jones County, realizing the holidays are coming up, and I'm going to be spending time with relatives and family. I was just trying to make the point. We in Jones County sometimes we take a no holds barred approach in debates, and that's the only point I was trying to make.
There you go. Well,
I love the free state of Jones.
That's right. Yeah, something's different going on in the water or something down there. But
I'm not going to say anything else. I don't want to get in any more trouble.
Well, anyways, short-term effects of this legislative session, longer-term effects of the politicking that is fully in swing, I would say, already so far ahead of the 2027 statewide elections. We'll keep a close eye on it all. Thank y'all for being here and helping us break this moment down. And I imagine we will be back here having a similar conversation in the weeks and months ahead. So really appreciate y'all's time. Thanks, Geoff and Bobby.
Thanks.
As we cover the biggest political stories in the state, you don't want to miss an episode of The Other Side. We'll bring you more reporting from every corner of the state, sharing the voices of Mississippians and how they are impacted by the news. So what do we need from you, the listener? We need your feedback and support. Subscribe to our weekly podcast on your favorite podcast app or stream episodes online at mississipitoday.org/The Other Side. For the Mississippi Today team, I'm Adam Ganucheau. The Other Side is produced by Mississippi Today and engineered by Blue Sky Studios. We hope you'll join us for our next episode.